Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
I'm a little late to review Season 5 of the alcoholic nihilistic story of a horse, especially since I only created this channel a month ago. But in preparations for the 6th season this fall, I must talk about the only current show produced by Netflix that I enjoy. There are lots of theories about where the story is going, and I have read a few of them. How similar most of them are makes me think that these predictions are more in line with what the show wants to do. But before I get into all that, I want to break down the characters that saw the most growth in Season 5. The Amelia Earhart story is an origin story for the most powerful woman in show business, also giving background to her determination to naturally have kids. That being she had a miscarriage at a young age, potentially ruining her chance at a wealthy life and helping her mother break out of the lower class. This season we get to see the hardship of PC trying to adopt a child, a challenge for her as she tries using her Hollywood skills to make that sell. The audience is shown the weaker side of PC's character. In Hollywood, she can manipulate actors and writers to get what she wants. But outside that world, her charisma doesn't work on the mother she's trying to adopt from. This conflict comes to a head later in the season when her ex, Ralph, comes back into the show, where it is revealed that PC doesn't want a traditional family that was taken from her in her youth. Adopting a child is something to rectify that conflict in her past, and she wants to prove to her dead mother that she can hold her powerful job and be a single mother at the same time. This future dynamic for her character is made fun of by her best friend near the end of the season. Where PC goes character-wise is up in the air. I believe we are going to see her begin to crack under the new pressures of motherhood on top of the constant ever-changing environment of showbiz. We might even see the return of Ralph, which will split the direction her story goes, either to the complete family she never expected having, or pushing everyone away, including her baby at some point. I have no idea what Todd is going to get into next season, which is what the creators want, but I will point out that during Todd's term as the VC of ad sales, the clock on the wall behind him is labeled Cordovia, the country whose dictator visited Hollywood earlier in the show, switching places with Todd for an episode. An Easter egg or callback is probably the reason for the detail. However, it is fun to speculate that the Todd we have watched for seasons was this dictator the whole time instead. Divorce can be the ultimate form of ending a relationship you were once excited about. Hers is especially painful to watch in the second episode, highlighting her feeling of being lost in the world with her Vietnam trip. While she didn't reconnect with her ancestral roots, I believe Diane for the rest of Season 5 is much more confident with herself, even when making bad decisions like hooking up with her ex-husband. Diane is the voice of reason now, not only trying to solve the mystery of BoJack's shameful memory, but also explaining to Mr. Peanut Butter why he keeps getting into marriages that won't last. Her relationship with BoJack is strengthened by the end of the season because of her own ideals of friendship. What happens to Diane next season will probably be focused on her career at Girl Cruise, and hopefully some sort of advancement from her sad state of living in her apartment. For 4 seasons, we saw the adorable, friendly opposite to BoJack succeed by mere coincidence in practically everything, in relationships, career opportunities, and especially his public standing. However, Season 5 reveals the flaws in the nicest actor in Hollywood. PB has moved on physically to his new partner Pickles, but is unable to move on mentally from Diane. We learn from Diane that PB has only ever dated young women when he is much older than his personality makes him. He is faced with the tough decision of letting Pickles go after cheating on her with Diane, changing his mindset, and searching for a partner more his age. When it comes to make a decision, he doesn't make the responsible one, lying to Pickles then asking her to marry him. Mr. Peanut Butter refuses to grow and mature, living as the character he once played back in the 90s. Because of this, his character has faltered more than any other for this season. I could make a full video breaking down the brilliance of Free Churro or The Showstopper, both tying up consistent trends throughout the show up to the end of the season. But despite BoJack's pill-addicted strangling of his co-star, I feel like BoJack has improved so much since season 1. And this season was BoJack finally facing the fallout of all of his worst actions. My point being highlighted by the exchange between Diane and him at Filbert's premiere. Diane makes the very meta point that a show about an asshole should not justify the viewer's asshole behavior. So when BoJack expresses this idea, she is quick to stop him, forcing him to come to terms with the bad things he had done to harm others. The comfort his pills had given him leads him to the incident of strangling Gina. Once the show is cancelled, BoJack wants Diane to take him down, but Diane gives the advice BoJack had needed for most of his life. That nobody is all good or all bad. We as people just make decisions that have consequences that we must live with. If BoJack wants to be happy, he'll have to learn to forgive himself and not rely on the opinions of others to influence his decisions. So the last 5 minutes of season 5 are the most impactful to where the show could be going, because we see BoJack finally helping himself to be better, changing his ways so he can better deal with the decisions he has made or will make in the future. I think season 6 is going to see a much more optimistic BoJack, with whatever skills he had gained at the rehabilitation center. We are going to see him put these skills to the test when he deals with unplanned tragedies in his life. Maybe we will see a new project created by Princess Carolyn, only to fall through when the single working mother lifestyle becomes too much for her to handle. I hope we see Diane move on with her life by finding a career she can be proud of, possibly even finding a partner who supports her. Lastly, I think we're going to see the shortest marriage of Mr. Peanut Butter when his adultery with Diane is finally revealed to Pickles, which leads me to my overall prediction for the show. I don't know how many seasons BoJack Horseman is going to run for, but I imagine it could be for a few more. However, I think the show is going to end with some sort of redemption for BoJack, with the old horse either coming to terms with his life or finding a new one with his friends and little family he has left. It is the only happy ending I can foresee for the character, but I see Mr. Peanut Butter ending up in the same situation that BoJack was in when the show first started. As he gets older, unable to hold a relationship, Mr. Peanut Butter is going to turn to something, be it drugs or alcohol, that makes him feel young despite having his love life fall through 4 times. It would seem poetic almost to see the two characters that are so different completely reversed by the end of the show. I've read that the 6th season is going to be the final season for the show, which I don't like. It isn't as much because I want this show to keep being made, but because the theme of the last 2 seasons is that the show keeps going even when you think it has ended. A happy ending with BoJack going to rehab isn't possible because he is still living. There is always more show.
In sitcoms, not really, because if everyone's happy, the show would be over. And above all else, the show has to keep going. There's always more show. And you can call horsing around dumb or bad or unrealistic, but there's nothing more realistic than that. You never get a happy ending, because there's always more show.